So yeah, just do it. And at Monday Night Magic class, we've all made our own tarot cards, and so some of them can be pretty funky. I got a bin of them back there.
Well, when you tell people they can go and be creative with something, sometimes you're a little, yeah, it can be surprising how creative they get. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
that's part of the beauty of it for sure. So I always this might seem like a controversial thing, but honestly, I think it's a question that has been asked and answered and might not even need an answer from you, honestly. But I always thought I understood what you meant by the phrase, the very common phrase now, it's all in your head, you just don't know how big your head is. I always took that to mean, I thought I always interpreted that for myself as the idea of the Neoplatonic mind, the all is mind, the nous, the light, and so if everything is mind, then of course it's all in your head, because everything that exists is in your head, and maybe head or nous is all that is. So yeah, I always thought that was how to interpret it. So when you say, if someone says spirits aren't real or are real, it's sort of a moot point at that stage.
Right.
However, then this beautiful book, which you wrote a foreword for, came out, and there was also a foreword by proposing a counterpoint by Stephen Skinner. Now, based on my long-standing interpretation of what you meant, there's no contradiction in the things you or he would be arguing for. However, it does seem there is some sort of is there a contradiction in your view versus his, in your opinion? Have you read his forward there, or do you have any?
Oh yeah.
Like, have you answered? Has this question? I said to some of my friends, I said, I think the answer's been asked and answered, and there's nothing more to say on it based on what's said in here. But I will ask you anyway.
Oh well, that's in my understanding of my own words.
Yes.
There is no contradiction between Stephen's point of view and mine. As a matter of fact, I think they are self-defining and self-referential. I just get a kick out of the way he starts his and the way I start mine. It's yeah.
Not only is this book absolutely freaking amazing, everybody, and everyone should get it, but the forewords, I think, are as good. I can't say better, but as good, if not better, than the rest of the book. And the rest of the book is amazing. This whole thing is amazing. I hope you're getting some royalties from it, because everyone should get this. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. Look at it kind of Kabbalistically, okay?
I'd like to do that.
There is. It appears that you and me are two different entities talking back and forth here, okay? And at the moment, with our powers of understanding and perception, it is that way, okay? There's a dual thing going on. But I'm actually processing absolutely everything about you in me. And at the moment, you are part of my head. Kabbalists try to break everything else, in the microcosm and the macrocosm, which only goes up to 3. As broken up into 4 parts. Okay, we've got our physical bodies here, our meat bodies, and that would, and then we've got our thoughts and our imagination, and then beyond that we've got this. You might call it an intuitive sense, like when a mother wakes up in the middle of the night and knows her child is in danger. Okay, it's not even considered psychic phenomena. Okay, and then there is the absolute essence of any concept and the essence of being itself, and that's at the top. So that's the Yod Hey Vav Hey. Okay, the Hey final is this, and the Vav is this, and the intuition is that, and that's so that's called Nepish, okay, Ruach, and this soul intuition thing is called Neshama. And then the singularity-ness is Atzilith, or the archetypal.
Yeah, there's like Yehida and Hia out there, but they're all sort of part of the greater.
Yeah, oh yeah, you split it up there, yeah. And I like the Yehida because, well, anyway.
Yeah.
You get your favorite pet names, you know. I sort of lump it up into Chai, you know, life force.
Yeah.
Now, our intellects are talking back and forth using our meat tongues, okay, which is our animal soul. But our intuition thing, okay, you and I are sitting inside each other's neshama. Just like that mother that wakes up in the middle of the night that her child is in danger. It's not because the child is sending any kind of message across a telegraph, you know, wireless message. No, that mom would have got that message, that impression, if the child had been across on the other side of the world. She would have got it instantly. And if the child would have been on the moon, she would have got that instantly. And if that child would have been on Alpha Centauri 5 light years from now and was in trouble, the mother would have got that right now. And it's not because a message was sent. It's because the child can never, ever escape the mother's neshama. We can't escape each other's neshama. We're bobbing around in a great neshama unity field, like we're chunks of pineapple in a neshama jello salad, okay?
The greater countenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that neshama is the key to, it's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is, okay? And everything that Stephen is saying, no, they have objective reality and things like that, he's absolutely right. But it's all taking place in the jello salad, okay?
That's how I sort of always interpreted that. So thank you for clarifying, because actually after I read those two forwards, I was like, oh, maybe Lon, if he was doing Solomonic magic and asked the spirit to confirm it would do what it said, and a bell was heard or some phenomena appeared, he would go, dear Lord, how could that happen? I thought it's all my head, right? No,
it's already there. That's where I expect it to happen.
Well, I love all your podcasts. You did a podcast with Praxis Behind the Obscure, my buddy Ryan in Korea, and he's a very cool dude. I hope you enjoyed your time with him. And I'm just so proud, though, that I got to be the one to clarify this much debated point. I mean, if you were surreptitiously everywhere all at once on Facebook, you'd see how much this is still debated with fisticuffs by people most of the time who are just starting magic, but sometimes have been in it for 30 years like me, or 50, 60, I don't want to assume how long you've been doing magic, but it's a long time. So
well,
yeah.
it was a brilliant idea and a fun suggestion for us both to write a forward and introduction to that book. And you know, I've never read one word from Stephen Skinner that I didn't think was absolutely brilliant, and I have no fundamental from my point of view disagreement. I think he's one of the greatest magical minds living in the world today. So
You met Regardie. Can I ask you, as a Golden Dawn person, I'm very curious. Like, what was he like? Just not like intellectually or spiritually, like mannerisms. What was he just like? What was his vibe or behavior? I'll
Well,
never get to meet him, so I'm sort of curious.
he was so charming and so cool and so funny that within the first 1 minute that I was in his presence, I thought I wanted to be just like him when I grew up. Okay. He was the most charming, relaxed, insightful, brilliant. And I know those are just, it's hyperbole, but almost immediately, I don't know what came out. Oh, he was wearing a medallion. Constance and I went to his house with the head of the OTO at the time, Grady McMurtry. His house was in Studio City. And we got there around 10 o'clock in the morning, and he instantly wanted to pour us champagne cocktails. At 10 in the morning, champagne cocktails. And it wasn't, expensive champagne or anything, but he sort of, made a thing about the sugar cube and the bitters and the thing. And we were sitting there sipping champagne cocktails at 10 in the morning. And somehow the subject came up about Freemasonry. And I mentioned that I wasn't a Freemason at the time, but I had been a D. Malay as a kid. And I said, well, I'm a D. Malay. And he says, I am too. Okay. And it must have been in the first few years that there was a D. Malay, because I think D. Malay didn't even start till like 1911 or something like that. And so, I had a champagne cocktail. So I stood up. I said, do you remember the word? And he says, I think so. And he stood up. And there's a way that you shake hands and do stuff with your hands before you whisper the word. And he remembered the word. It was very cool. And so we got a big kick out of that. But later that morning, he took us out to brunch. And Grady McMurtry, Regardie was very supportive of Grady's resurrection, if you will, of the OTO. And a great deal of the inquiries that Regardie would get concerning the OTO, he was forwarding to Grady. Said, this is the OTO. This is who you need to talk to. And the inquiries that he would get concerning the AA, he would suggest that they contact Phyllis Seckler. And so those are both my people too, And
was Regardie with Pat back then, or
what's
not?
that?
Was Regardie with Pat at that time? Did you get to hang out with her?
He was not with Pat. He was with Alice. He was with Alice. I think this may have been after so we're talking 1976 or 7.
Right.
But anyway, at brunch, Grady thanked him for all of his support and encouragement. Regardie and Gerald York were supporting they were the eyes of Horus. Okay. and Grady offered him to recognize him as a 9th degree OTO because Crowley had addressed lots of correspondence to Grady or to Regardie in the old days, addressing him as TI, which is how thrice illuminated, thrice illustrious, thrice intelligent. Okay. So Crowley considered him a 9th degree, and Grady offered to recognize him as such. And Regardie said, well, thank you. I'm going to decline because I think I'm more of value to you, not being involved at that level. And he said, besides, I'm a Golden Dawn man. And I'll never forget that. It was I'm a Golden Dawn man. And he had this, when you hear a recording of Regardie's voice, it sounds like he's got just a tad of a speech, not quite an impediment,
It's
but
kind
a
of
little,
lisp, right?
a little lispy, just a tad of Elmer Fudd.
A lot of female occultists I know refer to it as a lisp, and they think it's the sexiest thing ever.
Well, it added to his charm, I tell you. But in person, you didn't hear it.
Oh, okay? Wow. Really?
But when you hear the recording of it, then you hear it and you go, yeah, that's what he sounded like. But I didn't hear that, that part of it. Yeah, and it's fun to listen to his Enochian Sanufa Wasaji. Or flop over like a wag doll, And you didn't hear it because his charm was just so radiant that there is no flaw in this man. And he's really, really one of the most charming magician I've ever met. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's such an amazing thing to get to hear. I'm so glad I actually asked you that weird sounding question and that you understood what I meant to share all that, because that's just history that I for me, the 20th century and like the last 110 years of occult history and magical history is one of my favorite things. It's a big love. I was doing my PhD dissertation on Evelyn Underhill up until I got sick and then my supervisor died. So I just love the history and hearing about Grady McMurtry and Regardie and you all being in California and having cocktails for breakfast and creating what we get to enjoy today as this occult revolution that is truly like created the first golden age for magic since prehistoric times, maybe, or something. The times where we didn't have good history, that's for sure. So thank you for that. And I have a question, like, given how your experience with Regardie and McMurtry and all of that, would you say it's fair to describe the Golden Dawn tradition as a broken tradition?
It depends on who is working it at the moment. Okay. No, I don't see the tradition as being broken. I sort of see it as the like I said, like the crown, the Golden Dawn as originally at its height, originally in that 20 years of its golden age, was sort of the formula of Osiris at its peak. It was the adepts of the Aeon of Horus, not the degeneration of the Age of Horus, not the medieval crap of the decay of the formula, but truly the adepts of it. And they did indeed, in my opinion, pave the way for the next aeon. But there are various practitioners operating, some I think on surface very elegantly and traditionally, that I do sort of see as a broken application of that. In other words, anybody that's doing magical work, I don't want to say anything negative, because everybody is operating, I think, on their as best they can. But there are some Golden Dawn groups that I think are a healthy representation of the magic and the formula, and those that are not. And just like there's bad pennies and bad apples in every organization.
In 2002, we were literally doing a neophyte initiation here in Vancouver when the front door was broken in and our sentinel attacked by none other than David Griffin, disrupting the entire initiation. I had to get off the dais. The whole temple came out to hear the disturbance, and so our sentinel with a claymore held against his chest, trying to get him out, and him trying to hit it away from her. It was Clown Town. Crazy. What a story,
well, eh? I would probably interpret that as an unhealthy application.
Yeah. Well, he wanted us to bow down and make him the chief of our temple, even though we had no idea who he was. Really, we just knew he was he tried to sort of, I think, he was a bad apple that came from Chris Monastra's great group, and then he trademarked the name. So that's history. We don't need to go into that. So it's on the past.
Well,
but I asked about the broken.
Things are pretty obvious, and what I'm very encouraged about is what I'm seeing as sort of a hybrid, taking the formula into the Aeon of Horus formula, as if it would be like here's the running, how you, before you jump, you take a running leap. Okay, it's like I've seen. Well, I guess the easiest way to describe it is taking the Golden Dawn formula to the place where you do take it into the next step, the next sort of logical step, and giving not only total respect, but total utilization of the Golden Dawn formula and images and stuff, because you never throw the baby Jesus out with the bathwater.
You hear that? You hear that? He hears you. Thank you, he says. This incidentally was given to me while I was doing a guest lecture at Canterbury for Dr. Angela Voss's PhD and grad students by the very Golden Dawn chief adept who was calling me basically a oath breaker, before we started this interview. Gotta love it, eh? You gotta love it. You gotta love life. It's just so fucking crazy, man.
I know. I love this shit.
I love it too.